Today I want to talk about this Sony Zeiss 16-70mm right here, which has been my go-to lens for the past few months, and why I think it is a great all-around lens for travel, if not the best lens. Especially if you're looking to pack your photo, video, camera gear as light as possible. So back when I was vacationing in the Philippines, I decided that I only wanted to bring one lens, which was going to be an all-purpose lens for me to bring around for my photo and video needs, mostly videos. Before picking up the 16-70, I had a chance to test out the two budget kit lenses, the 16-50 and 18-55mm. Long story short, I didn't really like the zoom mechanism on the 16-50, and the 18-55, while at the moment was doing okay, I wish it was a little wider and had more reach than just 55mm. Optically, I thought they performed fine for the price, though the 18-55 was indeed sharper and there wasn't any bare distortion like I noticed in the 16-50. Then I started browsing through the rest of the Sony E-mount lens lineup, and the 16-70mm caught my attention immediately. First is versatile focal range. 16-70, covering from wide angle to telephoto perspectives. The Y16 is great for vlogging. I didn't really vlog a lot, but 16 is considered a pretty wide angle for shots that I don't really want my face to cover up the entire screen. And 60mm is about 24mm equivalent on a full frame sensor, so it's not very wide, but it's wide enough for what I needed. Zooming into 24, 35, or 50, you get great ranges for street photography. And at 70, which brings me to the second thing, that constant f4 maximum aperture. 70mm at f4 can produce quite nice and smooth shallow depth of field when I need to shoot portraits or when I need to zoom in on a subject. Having a constant maximum aperture means that I don't have to worry about exposure settings shifting when I zoom into different subjects or different scenes. And that is something the two budget kit lenses lack. They're only from, I think they're from 3.5 to 6.3. So yes, basically you can get 3.5, which is lower than 4, but that is only when you zoom out like to 18 or 16, depends on the lens. And as soon as you zoom in a little bit, you lose at 3.5, and it's gonna go up to 4, 5.6, and 6.3. So if you compare 4 and 6.3, that's 2 stops right there. So you're losing quite some light. Thirdly, Zeiss optics mean better contrast and sharpness, or supposedly. I did do some tests between the 18-55 and the 16-70mm, and I noticed that the color rendition on the Zeiss on photos is a little more contrasty. As far as sharpness goes, it is sharper than 18-55, but you have to sub down to at least 5.6 or 6.3 if you're looking for overall sharpness throughout the entire image and not just the center. To be honest, I've been doing more videos than photos, and I tend to color grade my footage, so I cannot really give you a good comparison between colors straight out of cameras on the 18-55 or this lens. But if you're concerned about sharpness, I can tell you that this lens is pretty sharp, at least in my experience, wide open at f4. And finally, look at the size of this lens. I think it's pretty small. Now, granted, it is not a lightest or small lens, but basically I have multiple prime lenses in one lens that fits right in the palm of my hand. It is certainly lighter than the 18-105 G Master. It also was the reason why I was debating for a little while whether I should get it over the Zeiss for half the price. Okay, so first, Sony called this lens a kit lens, while its price tag is nowhere near the price range of a kit lens. This lens retails at about $998 on B&H, Amazon, or Adorama, which is $1,000, and it's not even worth the seal. I mean, what the heck? So the price itself is one of the reasons that I didn't almost want to get a lens. Besides some mixed reviews that I have read about some bad copies. But luckily, B&H had an open box deal for around $850 when I picked it up. So I pulled the trigger. Second point being is that this is not very compact compared to the 16-50, for example. Now if you want the smallest lens, kit lens possible, then the only options you have is the 16-50. If you don't mind the size being a little bit bigger and something that optically performs better, then you should get the 18-55, because overall the 16-70 is much heavier and bulkier than both budget kit lenses. And the next point is, compared to the 18-105 G Master, the manual zoom is not very smooth for videos to some people. However, that was never really a problem for me. I'm not really a fan of power zoom mechanism, as I mentioned earlier, and if anything, I much prefer manual zoom better, because probably I'm just used to it from Canon to the day that I switched to Sony. If I were to do more zoom in transitions in my video, then I probably would have picked up the 18-105, because that works better than manual zoom. And finally, another reason that you might not want to get a lens is that I mentioned earlier about the mixed review about some bad copies. There have been a lot of bad copies that people receive that result in the lens being decentered. Basically, when a lens decentered, there's some components, some parts inside the lens that is misaligned. So therefore, when you look at an image, one side of the image will be kind of either blurry or very soft, while the other side is sharp. I don't think mine is decentered, although I did notice some corner softness in photos, but really it's nothing major that affects the image quality significantly, at least in video. So in conclusion, to me, this has been the most versatile lens for video. I love it because of its focal range, its size, and that constant maximum aperture of f4. Those are the three things that I currently cater most when I look at lenses. Imperfections such as corner softness isn't really noticeable in videos as far as I've seen. Plus that and other things such as chromatic aberration, barrel distortion, and vignetting, which I have not seen any, can be quickly fixed in post. If you are a ACU300 or ACU500 user, you can easily do this right in camera. Now, if Sony was to release a new kit lens that is the size of the 16-50 but with the range of the 16-70, either Zeiss class or Sony G Master class f2.8, man, I would love to get my hands on that kit lens, although I may have to semi-plat or something to be able to afford it. So I just want to wrap this up really quick by saying that compared to the 18-105, the 18-55, and the 16-50, if you need the wide 16mm and that you need a good medium zoom range and you need a small compact factor in an all-round lens, and if budget isn't a problem, then I would certainly recommend the 16-70 Zeiss as an all-purpose lens. Let me know in the comment section below what lens you're using. What is your go-to lens, either for photo or video? And if you happen to agree to disagree with me when I say the Zeiss 16-70 is worth the price tag, I would love to hear different opinions. This is my current setup for a gear talk, in case you're wondering. So I have two Gorilla Pods, the hybrid one and the bigger SLR one. This is, as you can see, to my microphone, so that will be more of my mouth level for better audio recording or better audio quality. And this is where I can just mount my phone, where I can pull up the Note app if I need to remember some lines, or if I want to add anything to the outline or the script that I write for each episode. So far, I think it's been working well. It's actually the new setup that I just figured out today. Might need some more improvement as I go. I think I've done a good job using stuff laying around my house without paying to get more stuff that I probably won't be using a lot. I mean, the only thing that I've spent as an extra for this entire setup here so far is this extension cord for about 15 bucks on Amazon. It is Rode as well, to connect my Rode Video Micro to my camera. I've been filming on the new lens, the 20mm pancake f2.8. it is sort of like an update to the 16mm f2.8, which I was using to film a little bit last week. I returned the 16mm actually because I noticed that even though it is almost significantly cheaper than the 20mm, it's not very sharp. I noticed that the background, when I step down to wide open f2.8, it is pretty blurry and sort of has ghosting effect, so I returned that and got this 20 instead, and I already noticed much bigger difference. This is a 20mm instead of a 16. I'm gonna have to try to extend my arm as much as I can whenever I vlog, or film with my hand as a tripod. Otherwise, this face will try to fill up the screen. Well, until I find it next year, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.